Book 101 review. Book 101 is all about books that are read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the author of the book, The Magic of Dreaming Big, no other than Miss Dominika D Staniewicz.
Well,
Welcome,
thank you for having me. It's an
well,
absolute pleasure.
welcome to Book 101, Miss Dominica, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely. So, I'm a brain coach trained by Dr. Daniel Amen and an elite neuroencoding specialist at the Neuroencoding Institute, where I'm a founding member. And I use neuroscience to help people make lives better. And part of that is how can we use our brain and control our brain and rewire our brain so we can default to our best behavior, and we can actually create the behaviors we want instead of them just happening to us. We can design how our brain works, and we can really make an impact and create the life we want based on neuroscience. So that is what I do, and that's what I absolutely love doing, because this new department of knowledge is now becoming more and more researched, and there are so many scientific things that can be practically used in your everyday life to eliminate overwhelm, stress, anxiety, even ADHD, get rid of depression, self-doubt, self-loathing, overwhelm, feeling of not being good enough, procrastination, hesitation, fear of failure and success. All of those things can be eliminated not with psychology, but with neuroscience and brain health that allows you now to create the life you want.
Miss Dominica, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. And we are hoping for more and more and more empowering books like this. What inspired you to write The Magic of Dreaming Big?
So, The Magic of Dreaming Big, Acting Small, and Achieving Success is a book that came from a need and my life experiences. See, I was always told that I have to have a why that makes me cry, that I have to have big dreams that are just unachievable. And for me and my brain type and my personality, that literally created the opposite result. I would freeze and give up on my dreams because it seemed impossible to achieve. So when I dived into the knowledge that I have of Dr. Amen, Dr. Huberman, and some other neuroscience studies, it turns out that the magic, we can dream big, but the key is in acting small, creating little repetitive actions that get us closer to where we want to go. And the truth is that so many people are overwhelmed with that perspective, saying, have a why that makes you cry. You need your big purpose. Well, it turns out you don't, and you don't need either of them. You can have them if it works for you, and for a lot of people, it doesn't. So, this book is dedicated to people like me who were struggling with that and still would like to have a phenomenal life, achieve things, but the road offered by the popular, let's say, and the typical road was not working for them. And it shows how you can rewire your brain, how you can look at your dreams differently, and it gave me freedom. It gave me freedom to achieve things much quicker, much easier, with lower stress, no hesitation, and no overwhelm. That's why the book was created for people like me all over the world who maybe do not subscribe to the whys that make you cry, and they don't subscribe to the big purpose that without it, your life is meaningless.
People, it's time to subscribe, okay? So, how do you define the concept of dreaming big in your book?
The dreaming big is exactly what it is. So, there's a difference between a dream and a goal. And those are two different things. Dreams are in your head, you're daydreaming, imagining thing, and that's great because it gives you kind of a general direction where you're going. But let's say I would like to be a vice president of Coca-Cola. That would be my big dream. The chances of me achieving that dream are slim to none with where I am now or with my life experiences. I have no experience in FMCG. I have never worked for Coca Cola. And to be honest, it would be very odd if that dream would become reality. And if you think about going to the moon, people go for the stars. Well, okay, see the stars, see the
Yes.
possibility of the stars. But with your first step, you're probably not going to be at the stars. So what if I would think about going to the stars? Just, look at the stars. Oh, they're amazing. But I'm just going to go up, try to climb a hill first, and I'm going to celebrate that I climbed the hill. Am I closer to the stars? Of course I am. Then I choose to go to Mount Everest. Okay, after practice, I got to Mount Everest. Am I closer to the stars? Of course I am. So, what if next I will take a balloon and fly up and be closer to the stratosphere? Now the stars are really close, right? So, taking those smaller steps that our brain can perceive as doable is crucial in success. It's crucial because if the only thing you see is the stars, you will miss all the things along the journey and you will miss all the steps and it will seem impossible. But if you think about climbing a hill, it's not a big deal. And yes, you are technically, practically closer to the stars. So that's the dream big. It's the seeing opportunities, seeing what's possible. That's the dream big. But that's not how your life, from the knowledge I have and the science we have, should be actually designed by. Your life should be designed by steps that can be repetitive, that give you joy, and you enjoy the journey. It's like when we say, oh, this year flew by. Well, think about it. When you're at a party and you're having fun, that time just flies by and you're like, oh my God, it's midnight already. I got to go home, right? If you're like me, my age. If you're like 20 at 5 a.m. and you go, oh, I got to go to work, right?
Yes.
But the time flies by. And it's because you're so engaged. Imagine living a life like this, not as a party, but being so engaged and enjoying life so much that you don't notice where you're going forward and being closer to your dreams. When you're enjoying the journey, then that destination becomes much more real.
Beautifully articulated. Dominika, very well said. So why do you believe acting small is crucial for achieving significant success?
Because that is something we can manage. And it's not in the action. People say, take action. Don't take action, take activity. Why? Because action is one time thing. It's this push, you need to save yourself. You take action, you run, you saved yourself. But that amount of energy and action for your brain constantly, it's not doable. You'll get burned out, you'll get overwhelmed, and you'll be so tired that your brain will shut down, say, I'm not doing this. This is way too much work. But if you take activity, and that is very often something, the writer's block or people who are making phone calls and they're working on their sales and, their goal is, let's say, 50 phone calls a day, but they're overwhelmed. They can barely make three. So take activity, right? Make this an activity. Call every day, just two people, and celebrate. Every time, celebrate that you did it. When two becomes easy, make it four. And then when four becomes easy, it won't be a challenge to go to 10. And when you add that up, you'll get to your goal quicker because you will be doing also it from a different place. I don't know if you've ever called a friend and they answer a phone and you go, hey, how are you? And they go, I'm fine. You already know that they're not fine. So if you're doing things against you that are so not your whole body is going against it. Your brain is saying that's too much. And you're in the space of being overwhelmed and being resistant. The quality of those phone calls is not going to be even close. Nobody's going to want to talk to you if you sound like this and feel like this. We can sense energies, right? And we can see and feel what people say and how they say it. Now, imagine this just with small steps. Wouldn't you get farther much quicker instead of not doing any phone calls every day and still having the target of 50 a day? You will start with one a day, celebrate that, and then grow as you feel more and more comfortable. And guess what? At one point, that 50 won't be a challenge, or maybe because it will be so exciting, you'll achieve the same result with 15 phone calls. It is all about the perception, not choosing to push yourself, but not overwhelm yourself. The small behaviors create great outcomes.
Totally agree, Miss Dominica. So, can you share a personal story or experience that illustrates the core message of your book?
Well, I think um, one of the core messages also the celebration part. And I remember I had a PhD in self beating, putting myself down and finding reasons why I am not good enough. I really was a master at it and creating rules. And at the end of the journey of that part of me, until I discovered a small celebration, I would stay in this state of being angry and frustrated all the time, which basically in neuroscience, the stress takes away your creativity, takes away your ability to collaborate, takes the ability to find new solutions. All of that is created by me through being so focused on things that didn't work. And when I learned that I can find actually small little things, and it's me who chooses that it's a good thing. For example, I mean, I could beat myself up and say, oh, you wrote only one article today, because I do also write for newspapers. Or I can say, oh my God, that's fantastic. You wrote one article today. It is my choice how I respond to the activity. And if I celebrate that, it feels good. And it feels good. Guess what? I want to do it more. We as species, although we are wired to look for challenges to prevent, hurt and prevent dangerous situations, we're also wired for pleasure. And what if the daily activities that I've created would give me pleasure? And that thought through all my trainings became my mantra. Now I celebrate showing up on your podcast, and I celebrate, having my book being translated to other languages. And did it take longer than I thought it would? Yes. But obviously, that was the right path. That was the way it's supposed to be. So I celebrate every little achievement. It allows me to enjoy the journey, become more creative, more effective, and draw the right people to me, because people, we can infect people with anger and depression and frustration, but we joy and happiness and excitement is so infectious as well. And we get to choose what we put out into the world. By celebrating things that I do, I also prove to my brain and I build my grit and my gray matter in my brain, which allows me to trust myself, because I've made myself a promise that I'll do just one little thing and I did it, which means I'm a person I can trust. And that's how we build our self esteem from the beginning up, not what we promise to others, what we promise to ourselves and trust. And I started doing that, and my life has drastically changed using these principles I talk about in the book. And my progress at work and my growth is three times what I would even think it could be, just by focusing on celebrating little achievements and repeating them over and over. Even if I don't feel like doing them, it's still much easier than thinking of things that I cannot even imagine yet.
Miss Dominica, what are some common misconceptions people have about dreaming big and achieving goals?
I think from my experience and when I listened to other speakers, coaches, and experts, there was this vision for many, many years that only people with grandiose vision achieve anything. And the truth is that a vision is just that, it's something you imagine. But life has its own ways of providing us. When we have a clear direction, it's much easier to go. And the expectation of everything being great and always being in a great mood is a false expectation. Actually, the idea of everything being perfect all the time, and this social media now construct that we have, and people talking about things that went great, it was very important to get us out of the lows. But the dreaming big is just that. Imagine if you could just enjoy life, and that would result in having phenomenal success. What if success wouldn't have to be stressful, because it doesn't have to be? What if success doesn't have to be at a cost of your family? What if success, and that's the vision of people, grind, work hard, play harder? That's such a BS. That is such a misconception of how life can be. We created this culture of overwhelm, working hard, stress, and sacrifice. And sacrifice is not leading you anywhere. There will be moments where it will be more difficult and you will have to make choices, but it doesn't have to be sacrifice. You can have your values and lead with your values. You can actually have a phenomenal life without the stress and achieve amazing success without the overwhelm, without the depression, without the burnout. That is all possible. But how we work with our brain and what we listen to, what we feed our mind, and how we wire our brain is so crucial. So, the misconception is that to achieve success, you have to be rich or you have to come from a rich family or work super hard, because yes, there are stories of people who came from nothing and became super successful, but there are also plenty of stories of people who became successful and didn't sacrifice their soul life and everything they had for the moment of success, because guess what, we get used to feeling successful and then it stops being enough. And if you didn't enjoy the journey, you end up like Kate Spade, who was a phenomenal successful woman yet committed suicide at the top of her career. Fulfillment does not come from success. Fulfillment comes from the process of your life, it comes from the journey. And we very often miss that.
Totally agree. Beautifully articulated, Miss Dominica. Again, very well said. So, how does your book suggest managing setbacks or failures on the journey towards success?
That's a very good question. We talk about perception, first of all, because if you have an expectation in your life that everything will turn out the way you think it should, then you are setting yourself up for failure. So, one of the things it's highly recommended is to learn to have no expectations and switch it into curiosity. So, going, I'm curious how this will turn out. And of course, do your best to have the outcome you desire. But the expectations are the first thing that creates disappointments and failure. The truth is, failure is just a word. We can also call this a lesson. Now, lesson emotionally and psychologically and neurochemically is very different than I got a lesson, then I failed, right? Failure sounds permanent, and nothing besides death is permanent. And some religions believe that even that is not permanent. So, managing those expectations, managing your desired outcomes, and how you perceive and approach them changes your reception and learning perspective and how you take things that, go a different way. And where is the gift or maybe another lesson or aha moment if it turns out differently, right? And is it you or is it the outcome? I mean, you, I'm assuming, doing the best you can with the knowledge you have at that time. So is it really a failure or is it a trial? And that trial didn't work out. It's like with medication, we have trial over trial. I mean, come on, we're all dating sooner or later, and we have a lot of trials until we find the one. It's not a failure, it's our path, right? It's the journey. And lack of expectations really helps you, and switching them into curiosity helps you not experience failure, but enjoy the journey more.
People dream big, as Miss Dominica is saying to the book. So, what will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
I have few books in my head, but I would like them to come out when they're ready. This is my book number 5. I have 3 other ones in Polish. So they were in a very different subject. So I am hoping to create, maybe as the, imagination, creativity come, other short books that can be very helpful, very handy. And by the way, on Amazon, somebody created a workbook for my book. That's not my workbook. I did not approve that. That's not mine. So don't buy it in tandem. There is absolutely no reason for that. There are QR codes in the book, and you have actually free exercises that you can do and worksheets. So the idea is to write what I find people need the most because I have a lot of interest, but I want to be of service. I want to provide you with information that will help you have a better quality of life. So when the ideas clarify, another short book probably will come out, and we'll be talking more about brain health or how to rewire your brain, or maybe how to look at depression differently, because now we have science showing that there are 7 types of depression that outside look the same, but inside your brain look very different. I don't know where we're going, but I will listen to what people need, and what happens, what shows up the most, I'll be happy to provide the knowledge and serve them to the best of my abilities.
Yes, indeed. Good luck to your goals, Miss Dominica. And what are your advice, or what is your advice for those people out there want to dream big?
My advice is to stop having expectations. Get rid of expectations, get rid of shoulds, get rid of musts, start being curious, use your creativity, and do not use your limitations as an excuse. Use them as a key opener where you can go, learn, and improve upon, because your dreams might not be yours. Your dreams might be something that society told you that you are dreaming of. Ask yourself, sit down, go meditate, go to the water, go and take a look at the world and say, what do I want? Like truly, not what you don't want. What do you want? And you'll find that it might be very hard to answer that question. That means you still haven't got your compass. So discover what you want and then build your dreams upon your wants and desires, not based on what society says you should be dreaming of.
Thank you for your advice, Miss Dominica. It's really empowering message to address issue of self-doubt or fear, and how can readers overcome these obstacles.
There are a lot of ways to overcome obstacles of fear and self doubt. But we already spoke about this, so I'm going to go back to the same answer. You need to start keeping promises you give yourself. That's the first step. You cannot say, I'm going to start exercising tomorrow and not go exercise. And that is exactly how the fear of change happens. When you take into curiosity and you start using curiosity as your guidance, the fear, there are no people who don't fear. There are only people who fear less. And fear is designed to protect you, but very often there's nothing to protect you from. Be curious, ask questions, put yourself in situations which wouldn't be typical for you. Teach your brain that unknown doesn't have to be scary, and it doesn't. Be curious about how other people do and be open to listening. It doesn't mean you have to act that way, but you will start seeing other opportunities and other ways of approaching life. Those would be my suggestions that are the simplest ones out of all those that come into my head, and we definitely don't have enough time for me to tell you all of the ideas.
So, what makes your approach unique compared to other motivational or success oriented books?
I think the uniqueness is in neuroscience and in the approach of going against the grid, saying that it's okay to focus on activity, that it's okay not to have a why that makes you cry. It is okay to not be always on a go, and it's okay if you're not always happy. All of those things are absolutely natural and okay. And approach with brain health, brain science into motivation, it's much more science based, and it's much more practical, and it's much more permanent, because actually your brain decides what decisions you're making, who you fall in love with, how you're going to sign a contract, where you're going to live, what friends you have, what you like, what you don't like. It is not decided by your personality. It is decided by this beautiful organ between those two beautiful ears. And you have until now no control. Imagine how your life could look like if you could actually take control of your brain that controls your life.
So, Miss Dominica, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to one of my audiobooks. People, audiobooks available on Audible. And my Book 101 Review Volume 3 Suggestions, my Book 101 Review Volume 2 Selected, and Book 101 Review Volume 1 highly recommended. These are my product of my first season on Book 101 Review. And for sure, my one of my self-help books, Thread of Existence, Weaving the Tapestry of Life, and Stand Tall, Stand Together, Breaking the Chains of Bullying, and Life is Too Short, A Journey of Discovery, Fulfillment, and Joy. And my one of my favorite climate change books, climate change book, Earth Fever, The Unraveling Climate and Our Race to Restore Balance. Please do listen to them. This is one of the best sellers on Amazon, on Audible. So, Miss Dominica, after reading your book, what is the one key action or insight you hope readers take away?
Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. Celebrate the little things. Create joy in your life that will allow you to have wings without Red Bull and will allow you to go with joy through life and allow people to get attracted to you because of they feel good around you. And when we feel good, life becomes easier and better. So celebrate, celebrate, and celebrate.
Yes, people, let's celebrate small things that you achieve. Miss Dominica Staniewicz, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world and, of course, your books to the world. And we are hoping for more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Absolutely.
So where they can buy your books, Miss
Oh, they
Dominica?
can go to Amazon and you have it available on Kindle and in print. Please feel free to go to Amazon, click the reviews over there. You can read what people thought about it. It was also number one Kindle release for a while, as well as it received an award. The award was the Impact of the Year Book Award in the Personal Development for 2024. So definitely worth a read. Short read, quick read, but very powerful. You can read it in 1 hour, 1 day, or in a month, depending how seriously you want to achieve success without stress and overwhelm.
Congratulations to all your accolade, Miss Dominica, and hoping for more and more and more success of the magic of dreaming big. So, Miss Dominica, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
More to come, people. See you soon.